ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mike Larkin, one half of the Steve Mike Show. www.stephenmikeshow.com is up and running where you can hear such shows as you're about to hear today. This is another edition of On the Mic with Mike, and my God, I am so happy to have this guest on with me. You've seen her on Impact Wrestling, Ambi, a music blog. Yeah, I'm talking about the one and only Miss Alicia Atout. Alicia, I'm so happy to have you on. How are you?
I am fantastic, and what an absolutely lovely intro. Thank you so much for the kind words and having me on.
I mean, Alicia, I gotta tell you something. What's great about the Steve Mike Show and my network, I mean, you, with what you do with Ambi, music and wrestling, hello, how can you not talk about two of the greatest things in the world?
I know, sometimes I'll meet people, and they're like, yeah, I'm not a big music person, I'm not a big wrestling person, and I'm like, what? I don't get it, so I'm very glad that's what you're all about.
Well, you know what it is too. Like, I'll be honest with you. I've told this story to my guests. So, I'm from Long Island, New York, and one of the big radio stations that we had in Long Island, New York was 106.1 BLI. Still one of the best ones out there. Plays a lot of pop and a lot of just all types of genres of music. And my folks actually used to work at that radio station like before I was born, and they like left like after I was born, like in the mid 90s. So I mean, like I think it's kind of just in my blood, and I think just my grandparents and my mom's side of the family. Like my mom was big into like the Motowns, like your Temptations and the Four Seasons and groups like that. And then my dad, like I remember when I was a kid, my dad had the Poison CD, during the times of Bret Michaels, Don't Need Nothing for a Good Time. So it's kind of like you're around it. So it's just like you get, and that's the thing about music, like we were saying before we go on. It's an art form. And I'm very eclectic, which I'm going to ask, are you very eclectic with yours? Any particular genre you like, or you mix it up?
I'm all over the place because it's kind of like you. I got into everything I'm into because of my parents. I started watching wrestling with my dad when I was like 2 or 3. My parents would bathe me to Prince and the Beatles and Kiss. So I am all over the map. One day I'll be listening to the Shy Lights. The next day I'll be rocking it to Steel Panther. Then I'm listening to some Duran Duran. Then I start listening to some like Maximo Park, which is like really cool Britpop from now. And I'm all over the place. If I like it, I listen to it, and I'm not ashamed of it, so I'm very eclectic when it comes to my music tastes.
Exactly, and I think that, like you mentioned, like Prince and the Beatles, my God, and I mean, you talk about Duran Duran, Hungry Like the Wolf, and so many songs that they did. You know what it is, too? And I think what's great about you, like, we're both youngins, we're both in our 20s, we appreciate the music that's out now, like your Bruno Marses and so many, but I think it's just the pioneers that came for you, to equate it to wrestling, like the pioneers that come before you. Like you see so many great athletes that we're going to talk about now, and you look at the 80s where you had like your Roddy Pipers, your Hulk Hogan, Cyndi Lauper getting involved, the rock and wrestling connection. So there's so many great tie-ins with professional wrestling and music that are just absolutely amazing.
That's the reason that I started implementing wrestling into my site. There were so many bands that I would sit down with, and they would start making wrestling references, and I'm like, wait, I totally know what you guys are doing, and they're like, wait, you do? And then we changed the entire interview from music talk to wrestling, and they loved it. So it gave me the idea, if all of these bands love wrestling, obviously wrestlers love music, so that's kind of where it all came from for me.
And I think what's also interesting, too, is because the sacrifice that kind of goes into both, and absolutely does, because, the wrestlers, there's no off-season, you're on the road constantly, you're away from your families, you're traveling, and the same goes with musicians, they're touring, and just, the experience of just being on the road, going from city to city. I mean, there's the tie-in there, just the travel is just absolutely, insane, but, when you're at a music show, you're at a concert, you're at a professional wrestling event, that the fans and everything, the electricity is in the air, and you're going to have a lot of fun.
Definitely, and that's one of the reasons I love my job, because you get to go to all of these different concerts and events and not only meet tons of friends through it. It's so strange. I have some friends from high school, or ones that I've known my whole life, but most of my closest friends now, or my relationships, they are musicians or wrestlers. So it's really funny how the community is there and everyone's just there to have such a great time.
And I think what's also, I have to mention this to you because I had a first. So my mom's birthday was not too long ago, and for my birthday, my dad and I got her tickets. We were in Raleigh, North Carolina. I got to see Cher for the first time in my life. Now, I got to tell you something right
Really?
now. Yes. Which I was so, because I grew up with Cher, because 90s, and Believe, you know what I'm saying? Songs like that, and Strong Enough, and, if I could turn in love after love. Yes. Yes. And the thing is, I remember, because back when we had cassettes, the cassettes, It just, I remember just listening to that. My mom would play that on the drive down on road trips, and then you go into the '80s. The Sonny and Cher's, the If I Could Turn Back Times, I Found Someone. That friggin' experience at Cher was great. You had Chic open up from Nile Rodgers. You know what he did with Daft Punk on, We Were Up All Night to Get Lucky. So I mean, that was just an experience all in itself, and I gotta just say, I loved it. I've been to so many concerts with like I mentioned, BLI. There was Winter Jams, Summer Jams. You see groups like Shaggy and No Authority, who was a brief group in the '90s from the pop genre. So many great acts all wrapped into one. It's like you're in music heaven.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm such a concert goer, and especially when I was doing more music than wrestling, 'cause now it's more wrestling than music. But I used to go to like 4 concerts a week. It was intense, and I just remember so many highlights, and some of like the best memories I have are from live shows.
You know what it is too. Just okay. I'll give you a funny story. So this was my dad on this one. We went to Jones Beach, and Sammy Hagar was the opening act for Aerosmith. And just seeing 60-year-old Sammy Hagar still doing his thing, and Aerosmith, Steven Tyler, just everybody going nuts. It's absolutely amazing because, like I said, you don't age. It's timeless. I mean, when you hear, I want to drive 55. You hear Aerosmith talk a Walk This Way, and Dude Looks Like a Lady, and I don't want to miss a thing. I mean, just still, you're in that moment.
I remember I was in Vegas, and I was with my family, and we were walking down the strip, and my dad, whenever we go on vacations, he always does all of the research for where we're going to eat, where we're going to go, and we were walking down, and we ended up eating at Sammy Hagar's restaurant on the strip, and it is some of the best Mexican food I've ever had. It's so funny how my brain, of course, goes to his music, but one of the first things I think about is the transition of, hey, this guy, is in an incredible band, but he has this great restaurant too.
Very true. I think one of the most, not really unorthodox, but one of the coolest ones, like down here, I'm in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, they've always done Legends in concert, which, like, I still have the photo when I was a kid. I took a picture with the Elvis and Marilyn Monroe impersonators that they would have, so you would see, like, Elvis perform, and they do, like, the classics like Hound Dog, Don't Be Cruel, and, We're Caught in a Trap, I Can't Hold Back, and then you have Marilyn Monroe come on and do her thing, so, I mean, that's also cool. You get the impersonators, but it's a fun time all in all because it's great music, and it, signifies and symbolizes that particular time period.
Oh, it sounds like a lot of fun.
Well, and you know what it is too, like there's House of Blues here, there's Alabama Theater, and what's great about it is too, like right where I'm living at my house, the Wildfire Tommy Rich, the '80s, he's been in the ring with the likes of Ric Flair, NWA, the whole nine, and that I'll equate to wrestling again. His wrestling school is like 5 minutes from the road for me, so I'm just like, everybody has that luxury for music and wrestling here in the Carolinas as well, and with the hotbed that the Carolinas is for wrestling, Jim Crockett Promotions, NWA, Ric Flair, I mean, the Carolinas.
It sounds like you kind of have it made over there, don't you?
You know what it is? Just I'm like you because I like to use like P&G because it's passion and genuine because you're so passionate about what you do. And like I said, I love doing like your interviews, me who I interview. There's so many people in all facets of life, whether it be music, wrestling, acting, whatever you want to call it. Everyone has a story to tell, and I think it's wonderful what you do and so many great platforms like this because that's what it is. It's a platform to give people the the opportunity to tell their story. It's absolutely wonderful.
Well, thank you. Yeah, that's one of the things I love most about interview. It's that it's not just typical questions, that I like to ask. It's the in-depth research and the fans coming to me afterwards saying, hey, I literally had no idea that my favorite musician right on it. Or I'll have someone like Jericho on the show and he'll mention bands he digs, and then I have fans DMing me like, hey, I discovered so-and-so because of Jericho, and I'm like, that is sick. So that's also one of my favorite things. It's just the way that they open up and you can converse, and you're giving people this platform. You're giving fans a platform to learn more about their favorite people.
You know what it is too, like I listened to your interviews with Jericho. I'm a big Jericho guy because I remember hearing when I was a kid, WWE Confidential did a piece of To Kill a Stranger, which was off the Happenstance album, and I thought that was so cool because they premiered his video, and God rest his soul. I know, I got to tie this into you because the big event, God rest his soul, Mean Gene Okerlund, you know what I'm saying? That is just, that was such a loss, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that was really sad. I was mentioning this the other day to somebody, but that was one of the best moments I had last year was being able to meet him. He had this crazy line, and I was doing some vlogging stuff, and I was talking to the person kind of handling his money and, the handlers at the shows, and Mean Gene overheard, and he's like, hey, kiddo, and he literally just started talking to me. And we had this really great conversation. It was probably 5 minutes long, and he just shared so much wisdom. And he was like, "Hey, interview me, and we'll see your chops." And I did that quick interview, which you guys can find on my website, my vlogs. And he's like, "You're gonna be something, kid. You're great." And it was just one of those crazy, shocking moments where you don't think you'll meet someone like that. First off, and it meant even more to me. When somebody passes away, you don't realize sometimes how special a moment was because you think, oh, I'll see them again, or, you'll be able to share their experiences. And yeah, after he passed away, it really hit me hard how cool that moment was. Not that I didn't think it was originally, but yeah, it was even more special.
That's what I like about you because, again, the genuine, just like I said, I could tell you straight up. Every time I watch your stuff, you're very genuine, and I could see the appreciation and the respect you have. So I did see that
Yeah.
vlog. You're very welcome, and I enjoyed everything because you got to do WrestleCade as well. I see you talking to the great Jim Ross, great Jerry the King Lawler, so many people.
Yeah.
I gotta say this to you because I did see the Sue Young interview, and I gotta tell you something. Listening to her talk about Kim Possible absolutely made my day because I remember watching Kim Possible. I love Kim Possible. That was. I'll be honest with you. I'm gonna curse. That was my shit back in the day. Christy Carlson Romano from Even Stevens, Will
Yeah.
Friedle, Boy Meets World. How can you get any better? And I know Disney because I keep up with some kids. You know what I'm saying nowadays. And what's interesting is you see the live action movie that they're doing for Disney, and you have that instinct of like, oh, it's not the same as the original though. But I mean, if they're still continuing on the legacy of Kim Possible, I think that's very cool. And even though kids nowadays who may not know Kim Possible, watching your interview with Sue Young, now they know about Kim Possible.
Yeah, exactly. It's all these little things. And I love that interview because I absolutely love Sue. She's like one of my favorite people to be at shows with and to see at shows. And that interview is very different. I don't think anyone saw it coming. The thumbnail was her in makeup,
Mm-hmm.
and we ended up doing the interview as if she did not have makeup on. And it was one of those, breaking the fourth wall type things and really just an inner look at who this person actually is. And I love hosting those, giving people that platform. She's only done 2 interviews out of makeup ever. So I
Wow,
was really thankful to her that she let me be one of them.
awesome! I gotta tell you something. Her and I'll mention another one you interviewed, the Great Soraya Knight. That match from I believe it was Rise of the Knockouts. My God, they've put on a classic with that. I love that match.
I was there live. I was hosting for them that day. I'm hosting for Rise, and oh my god, holy shnikes. I remember I remember her flying off at the top and just thinking, oh my gosh, please be okay. Like, I was so nervous for those girls just because, like, I adore those two. And seeing how brutal and gruesome that match was, just the hard hits. Anytime you're in a match with Soraya Knight, like, those aren't being pulled. Like, those are hard hits, a lot of them. You can hear them. So I'm very glad they were totally fine afterwards. But yeah, guys, check that out. Hit up Rise and watch that match because it was intense.
I gotta say this to you as well because I look at Rise and I gotta tell you I love like Shotzi Blackheart. Oh, I know you had the chance to interview the great Shotzi Blackheart, the ballsy badass. Got to do her thing on Impact Wrestling against like Alicia. I believe she did a tag match with Tessa Blanchard. I was very happy to see Shotzi get her shine there, and I think there's like their Fallen Flower Kikyo, there's Delilah Doom, there Mercedes Martinez has done matches there, Fire and Ice, Britt Baker, Chelsea Green.
Their rosters crazy, and so many people that wrestle at Rise, since it is a developmental, they end up getting picked up by these majors. So it's super super cool to see girls like Chelsea Green and Britt now, who's with AEW. It's awesome to see them. Deanna Prazo. It's so cool to see them on this scale with Rise and then just blowing up afterwards. It's amazing.
I think like that, like I remember the days with like, and Shimmer's still killing it and Shine. I think it's so great to see all
Yeah,
these.
yep. Shimmer actually Rise a ton.
It's so great just to see these women, and I got to tell you this as well because I look at the dynamic that you have with these girls and guys, whoever you're interviewing in the music and wrestling, both respective fields. I got to tell you something. I love the dynamic that you have. One in particular, and I'm going to mention this because it's been live on Impact. You and Scarlett Bordeaux. My God, I love the dynamic between you two.
Thanks. Yeah, that was really interesting because I don't know how much I'm supposed to like break stuff here, but yeah, her and I, whenever the camera's rolling, we have a lot of fun. One day we don't know if we're going to be friends. We really don't know if we're going to walk in the room and hate each other, but the fans absolutely love it, and she's very fun to work with. So it's always a good time when we have a camera in front of us. I know I'm going to be bullied.
I'm just going to tell you something right now. First and foremost, I'm going to defend you. You're not a 5, so you're not a 5. I'm just gonna
Thank
put
you. A
that.
lot of the internet still posts on my photographs, "You're the 10." I'm like, damn right. Thank you.
Well, hey, hey, truth is truth. You're a lovely human being, but again, back to like that. Like I see what Scarlett's doing with Impact Wrestling now. I think her character's great. I look forward to seeing her get in the ring very very soon. I know she's been doing a lot of the Twitch events as well. She just came off a match with Christina Marie on this latest One Night Only Beginnings, I believe. And I get this. Hey, that's another thing. Like you mentioned, Rise. Jimmy Jacobs, another one. Like I remember first seeing Jimmy Jacobs even before Ring of Honor when he wrestled the late Eddie Guerrero on a Friday Night SmackDown, as it was at the time. So I mean, that's another one to learn from the great Jimmy Jacobs, the Zombie Princess.
Yes, he has been on many of my promos, most of my promos when it comes to Impact backstage stuff, and I love learning from him because when I first started doing the Impact promos, I knew what to do and what I was doing, but the way that he directs the wrestlers and or if he gives you little tidbits, like he has a very nice way of delivering, like, hey, try it this way, or just things that you never thought of, and he's very blunt, which I love. I hate when people beat around the bush, so he's great to work with, just a complete wealth of knowledge.
Another thing I gotta mention here. All right, so we're talking about Impact Wrestling. I did see one of the ones that you did with Congo Kong. Congo Kong, big man, super agile for his size. Dude's amazing talent. But I'm listening to you talk to Congo Kong, and I'm like, I'm just imagining listening to that man, listen to some Brian McKnight, put on some Back at One, put on some Anytime. You know what I'm saying? So I'll be honest with you, as I'm watching this, I wasn't expecting Brian McKnight to come out his mouth because I love Brian McKnight. Brian McKnight is another one that's great in music.
Yeah, I think everyone was surprised with how spoken or how well spoken and soft spoken he was, because you just think of him as this monster who like doesn't talk and who knows what's gonna come out of his mouth. That's literally, that's the way he's portrayed. So that was another one of those Rosemary Sue Young-esque moments where you finally get to find out more about this guy.
Another one I gotta mention that starts with the I'm gonna talk about Killer Cross for a second because I saw with Killer Cross. I'm just picturing.
Yeah.
I'm picturing him just mosh pit, getting in the mosh pit, just diving after listening to that. My God.
It's cool hearing this because I know that you're, of course, like a fan of wrestling, and it's awesome that you watch the interviews, and that's what I want people to walk away with. Like it's very gratifying to hear you say these things because I want people to find those little nuggets they never knew. Like Cross has shared that he likes certain styles of music, but then getting into the depths of that in my interviews, it's a whole different story. So it's cool that you took that away.
It's my pleasure, and you know what it is like. People like yourself, like myself, we've interviewed the likes of Congo Kong and Killer Cross, and I mean, like I said, it goes back to giving them the platform, and you get to learn these little nuggets of knowledge, these pearls of wisdom, if you will. So I think like there's a lot of things that's very gratifying about what we do respectively, and I have to go back to the dynamic for a second here, Alicia, because man, I'm watching this interview with the OGs. I'm talking about Kingston. I'm talking about Homicide and Hernandez. Man, they were going at you about your skirt there, man. What in the world?
They love me. No. Yeah, that was a fun one. So I've known Eddie for a bit now, but I had never met Homicide or Hernandez. So they were all shooting the breeze backstage at Impact, and Eddie was like, just go ask Homicide, man. Just go ask him, because I wanted to interview the guys. And I was like, all right, I will. Any chance you can ask him for me? And he's like, no, bro, you gonna do it. And I'm like, you suck. Like, he totally would have, because, secret, Eddie Kingston's a sweetheart, but it's just he was just trying to bust my balls, and it's like, fine, I'll do it. So I approached them, and I was kind of nervous because you know how hard they come off, and they were like, yeah, of course we'll do it. So we sit down, and I'm like, all right, this is gonna be sweet, like we'll just converse the whole time. Little did I know they were gonna completely 180 it from what they told me in a casual conversation and just trash me the whole interview. It was so much fun. I want to do more with them, so hopefully I'll see them at some more indie shows. And yeah, I loved talking with those three. Anytime there's a curveball or I have to think on my feet and really just laugh a lot, it was such a funny interview, and you can't take those kind of ridiculous digs to heart because it's not like they're making fun of you. They're making fun of your curtain pants, right? So it was so much fun. I loved that one.
I gotta say this right now. Number one, you handled it like a true pro, and like I said, you took it on the chin. You took it with stride. That's what I love about you. Number two, Homicide likes your pants.
Right. I mean, it was the last thing he said, and he said it when the other guys were out of frame. But he likes my pants, so those two guys can suck it.
True. Very true. Yes. Okay. Now, another dynamic I have to mention, then we're going to mix it up about wrestling again. Now, I've seen this guy on a promotion called the New York Wrestling Connection on Long Island, New York. You've seen a lot of greats come out of there, like Brian Myers and Brett Matthews, a.k.a. Zack Ryder, Kurt Hawkins, Tony Nese, Trent Beretta, so many great people. I got to talk about him, trained by Kurt Hawkins, creative pro. I got to talk about MJF for a second here, because what in the world is going on with you and MJF every time I see you? What in the world?
It's one of those things where we did an interview about a year and a half ago. I knew the kind of person he was, but he's grown a lot since then, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
But I did not expect him to be that horrible of a human. So I did not like him, and I don't think he's used to people standing up to him. So that first interview, it did end in me slapping him, and then I saw him in Ohio 2 months later, and Moose came to my defense and threw him to the ground, which was amazing, so thank you, Moose. And then ever since then, months and months on, anytime we see each other, there's always some kind of altercation. So he does not like me, I do not like him, and I don't think that's going to change.
I think the only thing I can add to that is I remember watching him live and getting beaten like 2 minutes by the Big O, who, for those that don't know who the Big O is, he is a friend of Zack Ryder's that worked the Indies. He actually was a part of Impact's Gut Check back in the day, Adam O'Reiner. So watching him get squashed and just looking at you just talk about that kind of gave me a little gratification, because, I mean, the dude's a hell of a talent. No, talent aside. Yeah,
for sure.
Talent aside, but man, that was just wrong. That really was just wrong. I'm just saying. But again, props to MJF. He's in AEW now. Can you believe that we got the likes of MJF, Trent Beretta, Chucky T, we got Jericho, we got Rhodes, the Buck. Can you believe how, the talk with this AEW now?
It's so exciting. I love and know everyone that they've signed, or I've had the opportunity of interviewing. I don't know if it's all of them or majority of them. I think all of them that have been signed now. But it's just so cool to see what they've been able to create. Anytime they put on a show or they're at a show, it's just pure magic. And I'm very excited to see what else they have up their sleeves. Very excited.
It's exciting times for wrestling, Alicia. And I mean, you get to see AEW, you get to see MLW, you get to see Impact Wrestling. I got to tell you, it's kind of like a foregone conclusion in a way. I'm kind of happy to see it happen. Impact, MLW, working together, coming very soon in April. I think that's wonderful, because you get to showcase more talents, and that's what I love in a way, because you get these partnerships, like with PPW just did a show with Impact Wrestling. Get to see everybody from all around the world. The media cons with the UK talent. I think LAX, Jody Fleisch and Storm. I mean, I think that's wonderful just to see those partnerships and get, the talents get showcased.
Yeah, there's a lot of crossovers, and I know there's some stuff in the works with some promotions I work with, just random promotions teaming up together, and it's very cool that they're down with sharing that talent and sharing different stages and sharing fan bases, really, because look at the Jericho Cruise, for instance. He had so many different promotions on it, and it was such a success. I think people really realize, hey, if we bond together, we'll take each other's strengths and put on one super badass show. And not that promotions can't do that solo, of course, but I find sometimes, two heads are really better than one. Sometimes you can get some awesome shows out of it.
Exactly. And I got to tell you something right now, because I did see one of your latest interviews not too long ago, and I was so happy you finally got her. Again, like I said, we share a lot of the same guests, which is great because, again, providing the platform. I got to talk about Kelly Klein with you. I'm talking about the road. She is the road. I'm talking about the current Women of Honor champion, Miss Kelly Klein. I enjoyed that as much because she has great pipes, big music fan, big wrestling fan, so I thought you two gelled well as well. I did enjoy the Kelly Klein interview. I had to tell you that. I'm so happy you finally got her, because I know you've been working on getting on Kelly for a while, right?
Yeah, thank you. Sometimes when it comes to these interviews, they just don't line up. And I find that I haven't done a phone or an email interview in years. They've all just been sit-downs. So we just weren't at the same shows, or ROH would come up here and she didn't happen to be on that tour. I'd be in America, and then she, I think, one time dropped out of a show, and it's just, sometimes it just doesn't line up. So the day that it finally did in Toronto, I was so psyched. And I loved the interview. She's so down to earth and easy to talk to, and just a very genuinely sweet person. So, yeah, I'm so happy I was able to finally have her on.
I got to tell you something right now. I know I'm repeating myself here, but just to reiterate, such exciting times for pro wrestling. It's such exciting times for the women. You got great knockouts. You got great women's wrestling all over. And I got to tell you something, going back to Su Yung for a second, one of my favorite things with the knockouts right now, I'm really enjoying the story with Su Yung, Ali, Rosemary, Jordan Grace just got involved, Kiara Hogan, the whole nine. I'm really, really looking forward to see where that develops, because it's creepy because Sue's there, then here's Rosemary. She's trying to get Ali back. So I got to say, I really look forward to seeing where that goes in the future. It's one of my favorite storylines to check out each and every week on Impact Wrestling.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic. So we of course know Demon Bunny, alive and well, but then you see this dynamic here when they're at Impact together, and Rosemary clearly wants her back. Allie doesn't know what to do. Sue Young's there in the mix now, trying to interfere, but it seems like Rosemary's almost more powerful than Sue, kind of making her disappear randomly. It is all over the place, but because of that, I do not know what's going to happen, who's going to end up with who, but I'm hoping that Demon Bunny find out.
Me, me too. And I think that's what's great about the storytelling in that one. Then we see what we got going on with Tessa and Taya Valkyrie. Going to see more of that. And Gail Kim in the mix. I got to tell you, the legendary Gail Kim. I see Tessa Blanchard doing the Eat Defeat. That's another one that I'm very enthralled with. And then with Impact just announced, man, we got Rebellion coming April, back at the Rebel, Entertainment Complex in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. So again, just more pay-per-views from Impact.
Yeah, it's cool that they're going to be coming back to good old Toronto. The Rebel shows last time looked fantastic. It's such a great venue. I've seen so many concerts there. So, yeah, it's going to be a good one.
One thing I got to mention to you is because, what's interesting, because, people talk about, what happened with, because they're on Pursuit now, but, they're also simulcasting on Twitch. And what's great about it is, too, because Impact just put out the slogan that if you get the internet, you get Impact, which very true, because, we're kind of like in an internet-friendly world right now, and everybody's, on internet and just looking for ways to watch a show if you can't watch it on TV. So I think that was great on Impact's part, simulcasting on Twitch for those that don't have Pursuit. So now you get to check out Impact 10 p.m. on Fridays on Twitch, which a lot of their content is on Twitch.
Yeah, I'm on their Twitch. Woohoo! It's excuse me. I'm just getting over a cold, so I'm like pushing through. My show every Wednesday, I do a show with Anthony Corellier, Santino Marella, and we talk all things Impact and then a bunch of other random things. It's called Behind the Lights. It airs every Wednesday from 4 to 6 p.m. EST. And it's so much fun always. We get involved with the Twitch chat constantly, and it's a great time. And then you mentioned their Pursuit channel / Twitch every Friday night at 10 p.m. EST. And right before they air on Twitch, if you have the internet, you can watch Anthony and I also do a pre-show. It's about 5 minutes prior to it starting. So yeah, we're also on there, and it's cool that they have that platform, because if you have it, why not use it for people who can't access it through direct cable or through the providers.
I think with wrestling, because I know Anthony Corelli has his school in Canada, and I think what's great about him is, like, you two, that's another thing I have to mention, again, to reiterate on the dynamic point. I do enjoy seeing you and Anthony talk about Behind the Lights. You get to talk so many great memories with Impact, have guests, and I think it makes for a hell of a show.
Thanks. I feel like he's my uncle who always likes making fun of me, but we get along well. It was such a funny dynamic because he was one of my favorites growing up. Like, I remember watching him and Beth Phoenix and just laughing so hard. They were such a great duo. And so when the opportunity was pitched, hey, do you want to work with him? I'd interviewed him prior before, but to have an actual show with the guy, I was like, it's weird where life takes you. So it's been a lot of fun. We get along very well, and it's just a fun time, the whole 2 hours.
See, now you got me smiling because you're bringing back memories of Glamorella for me. So, yes. Oh, my goodness. But I have to mention this as well. I did see, there's another guy. He's sort of an adventurer. He's on Twitch. Did somebody say adventure? I'm talking about you and Stone Rockwell. Talk about, you did, a haunted type episode?
Yeah. So Stone has a Twitch show on Impact's Twitch called IRL Adventures, and he just does a whole bunch of crazy stuff, and he invited me to go on an adventure with him, and how could I turn him down? So it was a week before Halloween, and he took me to one of the biggest haunted houses here in Toronto, and it was terrifying. I do not do well with horror films. I enjoy them, but anytime I watch them, it's under a pillow or a blanket, or I'm squeezing the person next to me. So that was the one he chose for me, and I despised him for it at first, but it was so much fun. You guys can catch up on that also on Impact's Twitch, but it's just me screaming and cursing a lot because I was so scared. But luckily the adventurer was there to protect me.
So, okay, I got it. Now you got me curious on this. So, no horror movie at all? Horror movies just nixay on the horror films?
Oh, no, I love them and I watch them, but okay. I'm a complete wimp the whole time. I will scream, I'm under the cover, kind of
gotcha.
Half watching. It's a thrill. I really do enjoy them, but I'm just horrible at watching them.
Oh, my God. I think I'm kind of the same with you because, I remember watching The Lost Boys as a kid, which was a horror comedy, but still one of the greatest movies ever, Lost Boys, the Corey Haim, the Corey Feldman, the Jason Patrick. I remember watching that as a kid. I think what really only gets me about it, you see how many damn, how many friggin' exorcism movies are we gonna do? And don't get me wrong, I've seen them and I get it, but there's so many exorcism films that those even still get to me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's a lot. Or sometimes it's like I think they just came out with a third Jeepers Creepers, and I was like, just leave it.
And
Sometimes they just need to be touched. Just let them be.
I totally agree with you. I'll be honest with you. The one I did see, it's interesting because with Skype and how like people use Skype nowadays, like what we're doing right now. Have you ever seen that Unfriended that they did, where it's like this big Skype?
Yeah.
Yes. And I'm like,
yeah, I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, it was cool. Then I'm like, they did the sequel. Did you see the sequel that they did not too long ago?
I don't think so.
Okay, it's kind of similar to the first one, but because like the first one, the girl was bullied and she comes back. I'm not going to spoil the whole thing for those who didn't see the first one, but that's the general premise. But it's similar to the first one. It's kind of like, remember when they did the Butterfly Effect with Ashton Kutcher, and then they did the direct-to-DVD right after, and it was completely different?
Yeah.
It's not like that at all.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's interesting because you get to see so many different types of films, and that's another thing. Like, movies, you see a lot of them, and I know we're going all over the place here, but I gotta mention, like, you see, like, the 80s remakes, and it's just, like, like you mentioned, sometimes you just gotta leave some of them alone, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Some movies are just great, and don't touch them or ruin them, or try to teenage them. Like, when they, like, I don't even think that's a word, to teenage something, but when they try to just dumb things down and make it, like, a pop type thing, it drives me crazy. Like, just leave the classics. You don't need a Netflix special for everything.
Yeah, I am right there with you on that. See, like I said, this is why I love the similarities, because I totally feel you about this. And like, at least we're not to that stage yet, because my dad has like come to the stage. You know, how you get older, and you know those type of people that are like, hey, you kids, get off my lawn.
Mm-hmm.
My dad's like one hair away from that, and I'm like, Dad, I love you, but you gotta calm down. Like, you gotta calm down. I'm looking out for my daddy. You know what I'm saying? You gotta calm down. But anyway, I gotta talk about Blackcraft with you. Another great promotion that's out there. Johnny Blackcraft, Johnny Impact. Add another name to his list. Johnny Blackcraft. I see you doing interviews with Paige. A tremendous interview with the great Paige. You gotta talk about Blackcraft Wrestling.
Yeah. So, Blackcraft Wrestling is derived from Blackcraft, which is a clothing brand. They sell furniture, though, and they sell everything. They're killing it right now. They're sold in Hot Topic, but their owner, Bobby, loves wrestling and decided, hey, I became really successful with the clothing. Why don't I try my hand at a wrestling company? So they had their debut show in Pittsburgh, which was awesome. It was such a great show. I was so happy to have been a part of it. And then they had another show afterwards in Buffalo, which was a co-pro with Every Time I Die. There were like 3,000 people there at the end of it, because a lot of people were there for the concert or wrestling, or both. And they put on a good show. Obviously, they have their whole gothic atheist attitude. So a lot of people that go, it's the same mindset, it's the same aesthetic. And it's just, when it comes to wrestling, it's just so many people are a community, and it's definitely a really cool community when it comes to them. So cool clothes, cool people, great wrestling. It's a good promotion for sure.
And I have to say this to you because I remember when it was announced last year, and like around the time when I told you before we even started, looking at your graphic, being an Impact Wrestling, that you're coming, you're bringing the ambi with you, you're bringing your passion, you're bringing your genuine, you're bringing all you, Miss Alicia, to Impact Wrestling. I think it's wonderful, and I think you're doing an amazing job at what you're doing. But speaking of all you, I'm going to flip the script. I'm talking about All In. We're talking about StarCast. You got to be a part of that tremendous weekend. Can you tell everybody your thoughts about All In and the StarCast?
Yeah, that was one of the best weekends of my life, and All In was one of the best nights of my life. I adore the people who are behind that, the Bucks and Cody Rhodes, just all of the elite I love. And being able to be there on such a special and truly historic night, the fact they wanted me to be a part of it, to do that promo with Kenny Omega, one of my favorite wrestlers ever, it just meant so much to me. And then as incredible as All In was, the whole StarCast aspect of it too was fantastic. There were so many firsts for me. It was my first signing convention, my first meet and greets, my first time really just having fans come up to me, or I'd be walking doing live stuff for Fight TV and for StarCast with Matt Stryker, and we'd be walking the floor and you just hear your name being called like every few minutes, and you're like, this is crazy. Like it was just this amazing proof, like your hard work has paid off. You're working with huge companies and people in this industry, and you're walking the floor and these legends know who you are. It was so surreal. It was just I'm like, my brain's going to mush because I'm just thinking about all these memories and faces and stuff. It was incredible. It was an incredible experience.
I have to mention this as well because I think what's amazing to see, like, the international talents as well, whether it be UK, Mexico, Japan. As a wrestling fan, just loving all professional wrestling, what NXT is doing with the NXT UK. And I got to talk about Impact here because I got to talk about the great Joe Hendry, and I got to talk about Ichicero. Hope I said that correctly. You got to talk about the great Grado. Great tag team, great wrestlers, and you had some memorable and very entertaining interviews with both. So can you talk about Grado and Joe Hendry?
Yeah, so Gredo is amazing. He's one of the goofiest, weirdest, funniest dudes ever. And he said I'm the only person who can fully understand him. Like, the first person he's ever met that's North American that doesn't need to ask him what every couple of seconds. So I'm very proud of that. But anytime I have him on my show, I know that I'm going to come in with questions, and I'll probably ask 3 of them because we just go off script, and it's ridiculous, and half the time he's teaching me how to speak in a Scottish accent, and it's off the walls, just downright ridiculous humor. So Grado's amazing. And then when it comes to Joe Hendry, we had a very interesting start. He's changed a lot. It was about 2 years ago when I first started wrestling interviews that I met him, and he was the prestigious one, Joe Hendry. And he pretty much was a complete dick. He charged fans for photographs, tried to charge me for an interview. He was just not a nice human. Like, he was more cruel than Maxwell. MJF. So, yeah, our first couple interviews did not go very well. And then he kind of turned a corner, became a little bit nicer, and then he ended up being that jolly Joe Hendry you all saw on Impact. So it's interesting having been with him at the beginning and then seeing him now. He's definitely grown into a much nicer man, in my opinion, and I'm glad that now I can see him and not feel like I want to punch him in the face. It's a good dynamic.
So, Alicia, I gotta equate this back to music for a second, just because. Man, I'm looking at Joe Hendry when he was doing his thing in ICW, using such songs as Venga Boys. I'm talking about Boom Boom Boom, Jack Jester's in My Room. I'm talking about I'm Drew, Abadi Abadai, Lil Blue, Abadi Abadai, Eiffel 65. Get to see what he did in Impact Wrestling, talk about platonic love is possible, talking about, I'm so lonely so that since Joe Hendry beat me in regards to Eli Drake, dummy, yeah. So I gotta just say, some of the most memorable and entertaining stuff it's always great to watch Joe Hendry do his thing. That's all I gotta say, because again, tie-ins to both music and professional wrestling.
Yeah, it was so ridiculous because we really bonded over loving Weezer, him and I, and we talked about Weezer and just live music in general, or bands from the UK for a while. And then there was a time where Access Denied came out through Impact.
Yes.
And it was like 3 weeks straight where everyone I was with who knew about wrestling would just start humming it. Or someone would say no to somebody, and then someone would turn and go, Access Denied. Like, it was just this rip that didn't stop for like weeks on end. So that's one of the first things I think about now when I think about Joe.
And I think the true friendship of him and Grado, that's my friend, my friend, my friend. And then you see Grado dancing in the airport. That was another one I think you have to mention.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was a good one.
Oh my God! And you mentioned Weezer, so I got to ask you. Talk about your big cheese. I got my hash pipe. Talk about Beverly Hills. Talk about Buddy Holly. Another great band that is Weezer.
Yeah, Weezer are fantastic. I got to meet them like 5 years ago. Oh my gosh! Backstage at a show here in Toronto, and they're just once again like really down to earth, cool people. But I've been listening to them since I was a kid. Like, wow, that's kind of crazy. And then I think about their records, and like obviously Blue Album is, in my opinion, like one of the best albums just out there. There's so many songs that are just kind of like pop punk anthems when you think about it. They're a great band, and I'll never ever turn down listening to Say It Ain't So. Like, that's one of the best songs in my opinion ever.
You know what's funny? Like, here's the thing. Like, I remember, like, okay, I'm gonna ask you this and tell me straight up here. Are you a Weird Al Yankovic fan?
So only like 2 songs, honestly. I don't even remember. It's not like I could name it off the top of my head even. I had them on my iPod growing up, and I used to dig them, and I have not revisited it since.
Okay, so I'll make this quick then. So Weird Al Yankovic came to Long Island. This is when he did the Poodle Hat album. This is the song that had like Couch Potato, which was like it was like a parody of You Lose Yourself by Eminem at the time, and Trash Day, which was a parody of Hot in Here by Nelly. So I met him once, and you know, it's so funny just because like being around that atmosphere and just to see him still going with the songs and the parodies that he does. That reminds me of, because one of his thing, he does like these polka-ramas and these Angry White Boy Polka. Like, he mashes up songs, but it's in polka form. And one of the songs that he include, yes, so he included Beverly Hills by Weezer in one of his polkas.
Jeez. Yeah, I don't know. It's like I love like parody bands or funny bands, like, but for me it's more so up the line of Nerf Herder, Bowling for Soup, Steel Panther. Like, I like that kind of humor in music. His stuff I didn't get into like a ton.
Got you. I gotta tell you something was so funny is because I remember when I was in elementary school in 1985 by Bowling for Soup came out. I remember She's the Girl of the Bad Guys Want that was featured in The New Guy, that movie with DJ Qualls, Alicia Dushku. I think Henry Rollins was the security guard in that movie, prison guard, what have you. But I just remember Bowling for Soup around that time period, just elementary school, just, you couldn't escape that song. Everybody was singing it, even when we were on the bus going to field trips. And I just remember one of my boys who was like in a band in high school did it for the talent show. So that was another one you couldn't escape. 1985, and a great group all in all. That is Bowling for Soup.
Yeah, they're a great band. They were one of those bands that were able to merge comedy and really, really catchy songs so effortlessly.
Now, I have to ask you also as well, because we talk about traveling. You're going all these promotions and working with them, and it's amazing. Now, I did see your vlog. You got to go to the Netherlands. Can you talk about the experience going to the Netherlands, Alicia?
Yes, that was so surreal. I've been wanting to go to Europe since I was so little, and this opportunity came around. A publicity company reached out to me saying, "Hey, there's this festival called ESNS. It's happening in the Netherlands, and we'd love to send you out to cover it." And I was like, this email can't be real. Because sometimes you just get these pitches, and they're just so far-fetched. You're like, no. And this just sounded so lovely and perfect. And it ended up being just that, lovely and perfect. And everyone was a sweetheart. So I ended up going. I was there for 5 or 6 days. And I was just immersed in the culture, the music, the venues, the food, the people. It was just absolutely incredible. I'd start my days eating what they like. It was like their typical breakfast, and it was just like 3 different types of loaves of bread, cheese, and meat, and it was freaking awesome. And then after having like their classic breakfast, I'd walk the city a little bit. Then I ended up going to this place called the Martini Tower, which was this famous church there, and I'd interview in the church. And once my interviews were done, I'd head down the street and catch concerts, and they had concerts in barns and massive tents in the church, like all over the city, and the whole city you could walk. So you'd finish one concert, then you'd go 2 doors down, another concert, then you'd walk 5 minutes down the block, another concert. And it was just, if you're a music lover, it was amazing. They just showcased European talent from all over Europe in this small little city. And it's an experience I'm never, ever going to forget. It was amazing.
Awesome. And I gotta say this, don't even worry, because I heard you say like the festival, like you did, you little flub the line, happens all the time, happens with me too. I'll be honest with you, I listened to that, I'm like, you're kind of channeling God Rest His Soul. You're in a dusty road with American Dream, got a little list, winding down with kings and queens, flipping out and down on pork and beans. So like I said, just I that's the nerd in me there. I'm sorry, but once I heard you flubbing, you get the little dusty roads on me there. I like it.
It's so funny because it happens, excuse me, in interviews even. I stutter a lot, and I was so nervous to start interviewing because I didn't want people to hear the stutter. And it's not that I'm pushing through it right now. It just, if it happens, yes. Or I repeat words. And at first I was so nervous. Then I realized people screw up all the time, and sometimes they just don't push through it. If you literally do it, or you make fun of yourself, or you just push through it and you don't, you just take it lightly, no one gives a shit. Like, it's funny, and it's human nature for people to stutter or to lisp or to screw something up. So yeah, we're humans.
I'll be honest with you. With these shows and these interviews, I got a water and a Coke Zero right by my side because I get tongue-tied. I get my mouth gets dry. It happens when we're doing these shows. It also kind of reminds me of, you kind of got like that old ECW type thing, because I remember one of the gentlemen was saying, like, because he used to do like production about on ECW. It was in the Rise and Fall ECW DVD back in the day. He's like, point blank, put it bluntly, he said, we fuck up. Why try to hide the imperfections? It happens. People screw up. People make mistakes.
It's just like when you go to concerts, I've seen so many bands, and I mean like professional bands who have been around for decades, and some guy will be playing a lick and his finger slips, or a drummer, he like kicks something in, or, he'll break a snare, and they just laugh at it, get a new one, and keep going. It's human nature. And as long as they're not doing it and flubbing the whole, if you're an interviewer, interviewee, or whatever, you're not screwing that up, or every match you're not endangering yourself, or every concert you're not messing the whole thing up, then who are you harming? Just laugh it up, get past it, and you're fine.
See, you mentioned Human Nature. I already got like three songs in my head. Number one, obviously, you got to talk about Michael Jackson, the thrill from the Thriller album. I think of Right Here, Human Nature by SWV. And I think of, remember Madonna's Human Nature from the Bedtime Stories album?
I don't know. I'd probably have to hear it.
Okay, it's okay. The video is very memorable, and I'll have to send you this because I'm gonna tell you right now, you will love this song. It's one of the most iconic Madonna videos. She's in like black leather, and it's a very risque video for the time, but you know it's Madonna. It's the greatness that is Madonna.
Yeah, I've been listening to "Open Your Heart" by her so much lately. Like it's has such a good groove. It's probably been like my most played song the last month.
Awesome. I think what's crazy too, because as a '90s kid, I'm born in '92, so my earliest memory, besides my mom listening to songs like "Lucky Star" and "Like a Virgin" and "Get Into the Groove" and you know all those classic Madonna songs, we grew up like with songs like "Music Makes the People Come Together," yeah, and "Bye Bye Miss American Pie," so like that, and just watching those videos on TRL back when Carson Daly was doing the TRL. I'll be honest with you, I tried watching TRL now because that was like such a tradition as a kid. You go home from like I was in elementary school time. I go home, do the homework, watch TRL. I tried watching TRL now. I don't know. I think it's just because I just remember like going to the window and just like so many iconic moments that were on the original TRL.
Yeah, I don't think I've revisited it.
You know what it
And
is
it's
like?
good.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say like you try because like the nostalgia factor of it. Like I tried. Like I remember as a kid watching Boy Meets World, and then I saw Girl Meets World, and like they were doing a spoof. Like it's not the same. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I love the two. I love Ben Savage and Danielle Fishel respectively. But it's just like damn. You know what I'm saying? So go ahead. That's all I wanted to add to that.
Yeah.
So you know what it is? It's nostalgia factor and it's great, but yeah, just I tried, and I mean, there's so much out there now, and with music television being MTV, like all you see now on there nowadays is mostly Catfish, and like the Teen Moms and all this stuff, which again, it relates.
There's no music on MTV.
Exactly, that's the point because everybody's like, why are you calling it music television? Like I get it equates to life, but it's mostly reality TV. You know what I'm saying? Just call it RTV, reality TV. To forget about the MTV, call it RTV.
No, I agree. It's one of those things where a lot of music or so-called music stations nowadays just play those gossipy type television shows, and there's not much music being covered at all, so it's kind of strange. But yeah, I mean, people will watch it. I watch Catfish, I'm not gonna lie, but I'm not watching it on that channel because I think there's going to be music,
I feel you. And I watch it too. I'll be honest, I got addicted to that, like Catfish, you know what I'm saying? Just to see, like, because it's like 50-50, but most of the time it's these scumbags that are out there just to troll and be complete and utter, put it bluntly, dicks to people, which is not right, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, just, yeah, it's, you get what you get when you watch Catfish, that's all I'm going to say.
Oh, definitely. It fascinates me, just human psychology and the way people think and how people think they can manipulate people. But then on the other end, just how stupid some people are. So it's a double-edged sword when you watch that show, because it's like I'm pulling my hair out thinking, how are these people thinking this way? But then at the same time, I'm like, ooh, how are they thinking this way?
Exactly. And you know what it is too, like when I watch stuff outside of professional wrestling and like we mentioned pop culture and music and all that, I think the one show I used to love watching just because it's a glimpse of tough love, but then at the end, you thank him for it. You ever seen Bar Rescue with John Taffer?
Oh my gosh, I'm all about bar science.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Because watching that show and just watching him rightfully screw, like, shame on you, you didn't wash your hands, what are you doing, what's wrong, I'm not gonna let you get people sick on my watch, and blah blah, you should fire her ass, it's the tough love, it's the kick in the ass that these people deserve, and then, at the end he helps you, or there was that memorable one, I believe the bar that he was trying to save was the O-Face, and that was like one of the first bars that he ever walked out on just because they refused to change the name, and they were just horrible people, and you know what I'm saying, but you have that knowledge right there, and this is a man who's wrote books about bar science, and I mean, he's just so good at what he does, and that fascinates me too, just to see the alcohol levels, and they're very descriptive with that show.
Yeah, it's just a whole other thing. It's like with tattoos. I don't have a single one on my body, but I'm absolutely fascinated with different types of tattoo shows. So I'm always up for learning about different industries and what you can apply that stuff to. And sometimes I'll be at a restaurant and they'll use they'll put the glass straight into the ice bin, and I'm like, no, you're not supposed to do that, because if it chips, then the whole ice bin is messed up. You need to use a plastic cup. Like, it's all these weird little bar science things where I'm like, they could totally fit 4 more stools in here if they put that booth there. Like, it's this stupid shit that you don't need to know unless you're getting into the restaurant industry, which I am not. But that show just interests me.
Again, you're taking tidbits away from your interviews at Emmy. You're taking tidbits just watching television. I love it, and I think that's great because you can incorporate into life. Exactly. And I think what's just so fascinating about that guy is because, like, we talk about everybody gets into podcasts, and I'll be honest with you, I have the Podcast One app, just to listen to great people talk about their shows. John Taffer has a podcast out now talking about bar science and all that, and I think that's absolutely fascinating because that guy is just, again, he's a knowledgeable human being.
No, definitely. And you mentioned the tough love. It's one of those things too where there's drama in the show, so it just adds to it.
And then this is the nerd in me, because when I mentioned tough love, I think, all right, so VH1, when this was probably around the time when you had your Rock of Loves with Bret Michaels, your I Love New York's, your Flavor of Love, Yeah Boy, and all this stuff. One of the shows that they actually had on was a show called Tough Love, where he was like helping people with their relationship and stuff. So yeah, I just remember being on that block on VH1, when VH1, the days of the pop-up videos and the countdowns and stuff, but then you had the Rock of Loves and all those shows on there. So every time I think of Tough Love, I remember that. And I remember Strange Love with Brigitte Nielsen and Flavor Flav, that spinoff that they did from their relationship on The Surreal Life. Now, I know that's taking it back, but yes, that was actually a thing.
Yeah, I remember watching those shows, and like Michaels would use his bandanas to like crown the girls or some bullshit. I vaguely remember because I was so young when that show was on, but I used to watch that show like religiously. It was so stupid.
And VH1, every time Valentine's Day come on, I'm sure this year we're going to get a marathon of Rock of Love and I Love New York. And then there were spin-offs like The Chance of Love. There was Megan Once a Millionaire, the girl from Rock of Love, Megan. And there was I Love Money. There was just so many of that. And it was just like, all right, we get it. It's reality TV overload. It's that RTO. It's that RTO.
I hope it comes back. I would or reruns. I would totally watch it.
Me too, because it's just so funny. There was one that, oh my god, you remember the Tool Academy? Remember the Tool Academy?
What, sir?
There was a show called the Tool Academy that was actually on VH1, because that was also in that block. So it was these guys.
No.
Okay, so the Tool Academy was a show about these girlfriends they think they're bringing their guy or they're in like this contest, but what they don't know is their girlfriends are here and they're trying to make their boyfriends less of a tool, and they're kind of like they got a counselor there and they're helping them like, not be their douchebag selves, and they called the show the Tool Academy.
I've never heard of this.
It was something, I will tell you this right now. So the premise was, just very briefly, they thought they were in a contest to crown Mr. Awesome, and well, y'all ain't so awesome because your girlfriend's looking at you like you're nuts, and yeah, it was like a therapeutic show to help repair relationships. It's called Tool Academy.
Oh my gosh. Let me guess, was it on like MTV or Much?
VH1.
Alright. That would have been like my third or fourth guess.
Oh my god, I remember, see now you're taking me like the Much Musics and the Fuse that we have, like just watching those shows and the countdowns and seeing like Snow talk about Everybody Wants to Be Like You and the B44s, the Soul Decisions that were on that while on those countdowns. Oh my god, see now you're bringing back memories, because those are some good times.
Yeah, there are a lot of shows that I used to watch and I just completely forgotten about, and I'm still thinking of that Bret Michaels thing now.
Well, I was probably one of the rarities because like the Europop scene, like I mentioned Eiffel 65 to you before, and like all those bands, like the A-Teens, and you had like your Bewitched, C'est La Vie, and all these groups, and Ace of Bases, and so many of them. I remember when oh god, what the hell was the name of that band? I just had it on the tip of my tongue. Oh, S Club 7, duh, S Club Party. They had S Club 7 in Miami. They had their own TV show for a little bit, like the late 90s. I remember watching that on like a Saturday or Sunday morning when they used to air those.
Man, it's crazy to think back. I was doing that with cartoons the other day, thinking about all the cartoons I grew up with that I haven't thought about in years. And you're like, wow, I watched a lot of TV as a kid.
You do. And like I said, like I've told you, when I do these pop culture shows, it's like you just see how friggin' weird it is. And I'm going to actually tie this into one of your interviews. We're going to talk about the Twisted Sisters in a second, because I think you know where I'm going with this. But I have to mention this to you. I remember as a kid watching Xenon and Xenon the Sequel, 1990 2001 respectively, and both those movies just came upon their anniversaries. I'm like, where is my childhood gone? Because I used to love like the Zetas of Petus and all the stuff they used to say when she was in space, the Xenon movies from back in the day.
Because when I was thinking about the old cartoons I used to watch,
Yeah.
it was like the 16s, the Fairly Odd Parents,
Yes.
like SpongeBob. Oh my gosh, I just went down this rabbit hole of stuff, and it just now I'm like, that's where my brain is right now. I'm just trying to recall. I'm trying to recall what some of those were. Even going even older to when I was like really young, the Franklins, Arthur, Bernstein Bears, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, like you mentioned, Bernstein Bears, the Little Bears, The Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, Bear in the Big Blue House, like Out of the Box, like you mentioned Franklin, Blue's Clues. I mean, just shows them. Well, cartoons as well, like you mentioned, the Fairly Odd Parents, the Invader Zims, the Danny Phantoms, the whole nine like that.
Those were those were really good ones. Yeah, it was that crossover. You don't realize how many cartoons you watch. Sometimes you just focus on the real life ones,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're thinking there's a whole other category of shows I grew up with.
Yeah, it's so good. And all right, now I got to mention the Twisted Sisters to you because it's funny. So I do like the pop culture. This ties into you because it's so crazy. Like my besides doing this, I have a shoot job. I work in market research. Been doing it for about going on 8 years now. Wow, just still doing that the shoot job, just working hard and just working all types of hours. So I get home and I'm putting stuff together because Bobby Brown's "My Prerogative," which is a great song, and I know Holodead and Thunder Rosa love that because I cracked up watching you two, and just the whole interview was great. But when they got to that, I laughed because we had come upon the anniversary. I think it's like 30 years something now, so I was doing it for my show when I got home, and I have your YouTube subscribed, so I saw it come up. So I figured I can't watch this at work. Now I'm working. I'll watch Ambi later. I'll watch Miss Alicia yourself. I'll watch it later when I get home because I'm a responsible adult. When you're responsible at work, hello. But I digress. So I come home, I watch that. We get to the part with "My Prerogative." I'm like, Jesus, I just tweeted this out, and I'm like, oh my god, it's so funny because like just the chain reaction. Like I just tweeted this out, and here you guys are talking about "My Prerogative" and just Holodead and Thunder Rose. That's another great dynamic. Great women and great athletes as well.
I love those dudes. One of those I mentioned this before with a great open. Scenes where you just know whenever you see them, it's going to be funny, and every time Bowie did.
Oh, absolutely, and I'm still waiting for the bacon. Don't you still order like some Canadian bacon? Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! It's just such good times just watching those. Yeah. So, Alicia, I gotta say one thing just before we even close this out. I gotta thank you so much for your time today. This has been an absolute blast. I guess if you could give any advice to anybody that wants to get into interviewing or do what you're doing, a music blog, yeah, so very successful. Any advice that you'd like to give the guys and gals that want to pursue a career in interviewing and just do something similar to what yourself and myself do on these different platforms?
Yeah, definitely. Make sure that you go out and network. Don't be afraid to be embarrassed because one day you are going to make an ass of yourself. No one's perfect. And if you do, just get past it and it's not the end. The other thing is don't listen to trolls because they are going to say stuff about you, whether it's your appearance or your skills or whatever. A lot of this is out of pure jealousy that you're talking with the people that they want to know or talk with. So just completely ignore that. And when it comes to the actual interviewing side of it, just do your research. That's what really will get you places, unless you have some kind of like ridiculous gimmick. But just do your research and be genuine with people, because once you're genuine, people will definitely notice that you are.
Right. One other thing I just want to reiterate because you cut out a little bit with the Holodead and Thunder Rosa, but we got like the
Oh,
great.
okay.
No, you're fine. I just want to reiterate this just so the people know. Like you mentioned, they're great and the great dynamics. You know it's going to be fun, and I have to just ask you two things just really quickly. Number one, have you got the Canadian bacon for Holodead yet?
No, I have not, because you can't go through the border with
Yes.
it.
Well, like,
So
yeah.
I have not. I'd have to declare that. So I have not bought her that. But I do bring her sweets every time I see her. So she gets those.
And number two, I got to tell you something because I watch them both on Friday nights. I watch Impact at 10, but I watch WoW. I'm talking about Women of Wrestling. Another great promotion, another great, and get great to see Holodead on there. Get to see, Thunder Rose is going to be coming on Cobra Moon, whatever you want to call her. So many great women there. So I got to just say, WoW has to be incorporated with that as well because David McClain, the man behind Glow Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling, some more women getting a chance to shine.
Yeah, it's awesome. A lot of my friends are on that show now, and seeing them promote it and how excited they are to be on TV, it's special. So I'm really glad that they all had that opportunity to be a part of it.
And the other one I'll just mention, WWR. I mean, I've seen a lot of greats like Lufisto, who you've got to get in the ring with, a veteran, and interview, and just again, so many great promotions. And I just had to mention WWR because that's another one I just wanted to touch upon. But yeah, I got to tell you, before I even have you promote the social media, you are just going to keep shining and striving. It's been an absolute joy talking today, and I'm going to give you the open invite. Anytime you want to come back, you're more than welcome.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time and just the pure interest of wanting to talk with me. It means a lot. And I guess for people listening, thank you so much. If you're coming to this channel because you saw the interview tweeted through my socials, then I'm really glad you discovered this podcast. And if you're just discovering me for the first time because you are a fan of this podcast, then hello. I hope you enjoyed listening to me talk and ramble. As far as socials go, you guys can hit up aliciatout.com. On there, you'll find my Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, all that jazz. I'm really, really active on my social media. Same with my YouTube channel. I try to post as much as possible. So say hello. And that's that, yeah.
Links will be in the description for everything Ambi, and I had to do the music blog, just because I think that's another one. The last thing I'll mention, you and Eli Drake, my God, that is
God.
it's just such great comedy, and I love it. I just had to put that.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Just Eli Drake, yeah. So that's the last thing I just wanted to add. But Alicia, it's really been an absolute pleasure. We'll definitely do this again in the future, and I'm gonna give you one more the final word here. Any final words to your fans?
Final words. Just thank you. If it weren't for my fans who follow me, who watch the videos, who come to conventions to meet me, there's no reason for me to be doing this. Guess it would be super self-fulfilling, but it's the fans that make it super awesome. I get to meet so many of my heroes and favorite wrestlers and musicians and celebrities because I have this fan base and people who support me. So just thank you. And I don't bite. If you see me at a show, whether it's a wrestling show and I'm just hanging around or I'm working it or whatever, come say hey. I love chatting with you guys, taking photographs, and just meeting the people that support me. So thank you so much.
It's the interview queen, man. And that's the last thing I have to mention just before it gets out of my head. The moniker, the interview queen. I mean, well, it's very fitting. So, like I said, you're great at what you do. Interview queen, man. Interview queen.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
All right. For Alicia Atout, my name is Mike Larkin. Thank you all for listening, and we'll talk to you next time. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another edition of On the Mic with Mike / Max Wrestling in the Hot Seat. And joining me today is none other than a bit of royalty. I'm talking about the woman behind the music blog, Ambi. I'm talking about the interview queen herself, Miss Alicia Atout. Miss Alicia Atout, it's a pleasure to have you back on the show. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing super well. I'm very excited to be back on, so thank you for having me.
You are very welcome. You've been doing a lot of great things, and I got to tell you this. First and foremost, congratulations, MLW. You've been all around from Impact Wrestling. You did some stuff with AEW and all around the professional wrestling scene. You're kind of like, to make a music reference, and I know I'm dating myself with this, you're like Troop. You're spreading your wings, fly away to a place I've longed for, and here we are. You've longed for MLW, Major League Wrestling. Talk about signing with MLW.
Yeah, it's been absolutely surreal. I feel like anyone in this industry, or in most industries, whether it's wrestling, music, whatever it may be, you always kind of want to have that place to call home. And so when they approached me and they were like, hey, we're interested in working with you and we'd really like to feel out this collaboration and how this could work, I was like, yes, please. So I went out to my first show with them back in December. It was kind of like a trial to make sure I was happy, make sure they were happy. And everyone just felt super stoked about it. So it just felt like a comfortable place to be. I love the locker room. Everyone's just so lovely and kind. And I'm already friends with majority of the guys there. So yeah, it's just a really wonderful fit. And I'm so happy that I get to be a part of their brand and their company. It's incredible. I love their storylines. I think everyone hustles, they have passion there, and it's just a really good fit. So I couldn't be happier. It's been such a great experience already.
I think when you look at the talent pool that's on there, from your Brian Pillman Juniors, from your Lokis, from your Contra units, from your Alexander Hammerstones, your LA Parks, and so on and so forth, you got Zeta Zhang there as a part of the female division, as well as Selena De La Renta, and adding yourself to the broadcast team with the likes of AJ Kirsch, and you have like a senior agent like Dr. Tom Pritchard. There's a lot of people to learn from, and there's a lot of people for people to, hone their craft and apply their craft in a great company like MLW with Court Bauer at the front. So, I mean, you're in great hands.
Yeah, that's definitely the case. I feel like there's an amazing brotherhood there. And like I mentioned, everyone kind of has that hustle and everybody has the passion for it. Everyone wants to be the best they can be. And that's just a really great vibe and a great community to be around, because then you kind of feel like you want to push yourself too. You want to make every promo better. You want to, have a good time at the same time. And when I am with MLW, that's exactly how I feel. Everyone's just there to have a good time. Everyone's there to have fun and at the same time create a really good product. So it's been absolutely a blast.
And I look at it like this, like you look at like so many promotions. And I think that's what's great about professional wrestling now in 2020. You have your WWEs, you have your NXT as a part of that Raw, SmackDown, you have your AEWs, you have your Impact Wrestling, you have your MLW. We're in a time where wrestling is not just on the YouTube channels, on the YouTube front, which is great to see the MLW product, but like wrestling is on like 6 days a week. And I mean, it's a lot of wrestling to consume. And I think that's great for all the territorial type aspects that we see in professional wrestling now and all the great companies.
That's definitely the case. There's a lot of wrestling going on, and I feel like it's a lot, and I feel like that it's a double-edged sword. I feel like if you're a wrestling fan and you have the time and you want to keep up with all of it, like the hours and hours on end, then awesome. That's fantastic, because it just means there's more for you to dive into. But at the same time, if you actually have a lot of other stuff going on, you love wrestling, you're like, oh, what do I do? And you have to really prioritize people that you want to watch. So I'm kind of stuck in the middle right now, because I keep up with MLW. I always love seeing how the product turns out in the end, because, you're filming stuff out of sequence, you're filming stuff for 2 days in a row. It's mayhem. So watching that final episode's awesome. So like, obviously I watch that every single week, but keeping up with everything else, it's hard. Like, because it's not just the TV, it's everything that's live streamed. It's the Twitch shows, YouTube, like it's a ton of wrestling. So yeah, the best way I could put it is it's a double-edged sword. It's a lot.
Agreed. And I mean, you look at like on the New Japan side, when you're waking up for like us in the States at like 2 or 3 in the morning to watch Wrestle Kingdom and all these great shows. I mean, it's a lot to take in, but at the same time, I mean, with what everybody's done with work, and I could speak for this as well as yourself, Alicia. I mean, it's amazing to catch up on that as well. And I look at it like this. I mean, like you did a great job with the Bullet Club party last time. Now you're doing the Bullet Club beach party. You're hosting it. What is it like to get back into that? Because it's a fun atmosphere, great fans, great tailgating, and obviously the Bullet Clubs themselves make for an entertaining time. So, I mean, talk about getting a part of that again.
Yeah, that was seriously, it's going to sound so cheesy, but that was one of the best days I had last year. Like, it was just so much fun. I had an absolute blast there. Everyone was just so kind, and the Bullet Club guys, sorry to say this to all of you, but they are the sweetest. Like, they're awesome. I'm friends with so many of them. So when they invited me back, when Steve, who's the guy who's putting everything together, and he was like, hey, would you like to do this again? I was like, yes, please. It's just such a good time. You're literally throwing 2 sweets like all over the place. Everyone just wants to have fun, and the fact that we're doing it on a beach this time, like not only are there going to be tons of great drinks and activities, like I think we have massive Jenga, there's like literally water right there, it's on a beach, so you can like swim with the Bullet Club. It's going to just be crazy. I'm very honored that they wanted to have me back, and that I kind of was able to prove myself and be that like honorary little member whenever they do these parties. So I'm thrilled.
I gotta say, like, this kind of takes me back to 2007, like when I was 15, right? Like SummerSlam, when they had it at East Rutherford, New Jersey. I mean, at the time it was the Continental Airlines Arena. Like when they used to do the SummerSlam parties and you could play like games, they had like a dunk tank, and I'm like, this is great. Not only do you get to meet your favorite superstar, but you get to play games and just have fun with it. That's kind of like what I equated to, because, I mean, not only do you have the beach party and stuff, but I mean, the list of people besides yourself on this, like you have Ken Shamrock as the head of security, the world's most dangerous man. You have Flip Gordon. You have a lot of great talents on there, like the Allure. You have so many people involved. Obviously, Haku and the Barbarian. But it's like, that's a great atmosphere for people. And plus, I got to say, Ken Shamrock as the head of security. My God.
Well, the most fun, I almost said funnest, the most fun part of these parties is the fact that there's no real gate separating you from the wrestlers. Like for the block party we did last Mania week, we're literally just all roaming the floor. And yes, of course, you have your private meet and greets and VIP things you can do. But even if you just purchase like GA, you'll literally see everyone from Tama to Jay White just roaming the floor. And you just walk around. You can go up to them. You can shoot the breeze. Like it's a very chill and relaxed atmosphere, breaking down that barrier of fan to talent. You all kind of for a day are just on that same, I don't want to say on the same level because like I'm not separating like people from people, but I mean when people go to these things, there's fans, then there's the stars, and that's how fans see it a lot of the time. And when you're at these shows, people are just people, and they're approachable, and they're fun, and they're genuine, and I think that's the best part of the entire party. It's the fact that everyone's there to have a good time and everyone's accessible.
I think it's kind of like when you go up to your favorite superstars, when you do these meet and greets and it's only like, oh, hey, how you doing? You get a little signed photo and a picture. But this is just, I always love these because like you look at like a StarCast, you look at WrestleCade, you look at what we're doing with this party here. I mean, it's just the overall environment. And like you said, the people are people. We get to chill. I mean, these are all people that respect and love professional wrestling and love people like yourself for the great work that you do and for the great work that the talent does. So I think it's a win-win all in all. So I think ever since they started doing these and having so many events around WrestleMania time, which again, going back to that nuts factor, because there's so much wrestling around WrestleMania time, then you hit the weekend and the whole nine, but it's a great atmosphere. And as a wrestling fan, I could say this, and as a fellow podcaster, it's great just to, whether it be interview talents or get to talk about it. I think it's overall great experience for anybody, and it puts a smile on my face as I know it does yours.
Yeah, I looked like a complete doofus at these last parties or these MLW tapings. I'm really enjoying what I'm doing now, and not that I didn't before, but there's definitely a different element to it. When you surround yourself with really good people and you have fans there that support you and everyone just wants to appreciate everyone, there's respect. It's just, why wouldn't you have a smile on your face? Like I look back at photos from the block party and I just remember how much I was smiling, and then the photos are proof. And I remember getting back to my hotel room that night and like my face just hurt so much from smiling the whole day. So it's just, yeah, it's been really good, and those experiences have been amazing.
First thing, farthest from a doofus. I mean, I'll just add that part this summer. I was a doofus. And number two, I saw those blogs. I saw Killer Cross doing his thing. And by the way, I just got to say this, much love to him. And I saw the match with Filthy Tom Lawler. That's the thing about MLW too, the super fights and the fight lands, like the pay-per-views and shows. I mean, that's great just to see like them just, because like I said, I remember MLW from back in the day, just to see them tear it up, rejuvenated, revigorated. I got to say, that is really what makes the product. But yes, I did see the ones with Killer Cross and all those great vlogs. Like for real, I could tell the smile on your face, just the genuine. I think that's what I love about you, because I'm gonna put you on the spot here. But man, I was looking at your Twitter. You were talking about 3 words that define you. And for me, this is a mindset, my overall view on women: beauty, strength, and dominance, the 3 key elements that make women the work of art that they are. And Miss Alicia, too, you exemplify that.
Well, thank you. No, that's really kind of you. There was it was weird because I posted that tweet out of curiosity, and I had like these 2 trolls there was like hundreds of replies, and out of everyone that replied, there were these 2 trolls that were like, wow, you've really gotten full of yourself, haven't you? And that wasn't the purpose of the tweet. I didn't want to hear the beautifuls. I didn't want to hear that kind of stuff. Like, I'll take it. It's very kind. But it was more so, I was curious. Did they think interviews? Did they think music? Did they think wrestling? Did they think talent? Like, that's where I was kind of going for, because that was kind of a viral thing, the whole like name 3 things about me. And seeing the response from people and who jumped in on it, I was like, wow, this is overwhelming. Like, it really makes you appreciate even more so the fan base you've been able to acquire and the people you have surrounding you. And it was overwhelming. I was like, wow, this is kind of what people genuinely think, and they're putting it out there online. No one had to reply. It made me feel really good. So I appreciate your comment and compliments, and anyone else who kind of dove in on that, or just support in general. Like, thank you. If it weren't for you guys caring, I mean, what's the real point, you know?
I look at it like this. First and foremost, you always pique my interest in music and wrestling. I think we touched upon this last line. But, like, those are 2 great things in the world. You have music and wrestling, 2 of the best art forms, and very similar in the lifestyles and overall travel in both different, art forms. But I also look at it like this, and I'm going to say this and give them a shout-out. Ella J of a Wrestling Gal podcast, and Samira. Like, these 2 girls right here, some of my favorite people. Like, I think with you is you're this generation and girls like them and people like who want to get in the interviewing field, like you're inspiring, you're resonating, you're generating, and you're evoking emotions with what you're doing. So I think that's got to make you feel good. Like you're inspiring the next generation. I want to get in their interviews. They said, hey, I watched a vlog from Alicia Atout, or I watched this interview, I watched that interview. You were really paving the way for a lot of people.
Yeah, it really shocks me completely anytime I get messages from people saying, hey, I decided to take journalism because of you, or hey, I started a blog because of you. Like, that blows my mind. Um, I've had people write me stuff like that to, hey, I'm going through a hard time, or hey, I have this disease and I have surgery and I watch your stuff to make me happy. Like, all these different avenues. And people out there are appreciating in some way what I do, and the fact that I can help them through a rough time or help them find a passion or a career, like that's mind-blowing to me. It's just, I never set out to be like a public figure, and I'm nowhere near how big I want to be. I probably told you that last time too, but I don't know. It's crazy that people see me in that light, and it makes me feel like I'm doing something right, and it kind of lights that fire under my butt to say, okay, if this is how people genuinely view you, just like with that 3-word social media kind of thing, if this is how people view you, you're on the right path, so keep at it. Because sometimes you do get in those ruts where you're like, oh gosh, am I doing the right thing? What's the next step? La la la. And whenever I get those messages from people, the genuine ones where they're like, thank you for what you do, it warms my heart. So if you've ever sent me something like that, thank you guys. It means so much.
Oh, of course. And I mean, I'll put it like this. I think from an internal and external standpoint, like, I'll be honest, you got that vibe. There's something about you that's very likable. I'll be honest with you, you're probably one of the most genuine people. I know you're probably one of the sweetest people in the game. You're a student of the game. I think you absorb wrestling like a sponge, and you absorb what you learn and going to these shows. I'll be honest with you. One of my favorite talents, I saw you hosting it, Sizzling Stan Styles. He has another Intergender Bonanza coming up. Like that,
right.
like those shows, like Sizzling Stan Styles, Intergender Bonanza. It's so great to see like shows like that and the Block Party WrestleMania weekend. Like, I'll be honest with you, watching you do the Intergender Bonanza, I look at Sizzling Stan Styles. That's right. He has the hottie of the week. He has the whipped cream. That's funny. It's
right.
I love it. But I think having you a part of that was great. I was telling Stan when I had him on the show, I'm like, dude, you got one of the top people hosting your event. He's like, yeah, she's great. I'm like, that's the thing. And I think you also exemplified in that event as well.
That's so nice. And it's weird too, because when he brought me on, it was kind of like one of the first times I started hosting. I hadn't been hosting a ton of shows. This was I think when I hosted him, it was maybe last May or March maybe. But it was cool for him to take that chance on me, saying, okay, I like her interviews. Let's see what I can give her for hosting. So that was an absolute blast. I loved every second of it. And since then, I've done so many hosting gigs. It's been overwhelming and so much fun. So yeah, that's a really cool show, the Intergender Bonanza. They do a great job there. But other than putting them over, Mr. Sizzling Stan Styles, it's been a lot of fun being able to host, interview, do backstage promos. Like, I feel like it's now been so many different types of roles I've been able to have and do because of wrestling, and it's been a lot of fun. So yeah, I'm just trying to take it all in as it comes. It's a lot. Like, it's a lot to take in, but I'm having a really good time. So yeah, that's kind of what it comes down to.
I mean, you have that humbleness to you, and I'll say this right now. Like, I love the Catching Up series, what you're doing right now. I've seen a lot with Kristen Statlander and many talents that you've had on. Like, look at Kristen Statlander right now. This Saturday, AEW, she's taking on Nyla Rose for the AEW Women's Championship. Like, there's someone who was trained by Kurt Hawkins, Creative Pro Wrestling, and to see how far she's come. And so many of the talents like you who you've previously interviewed, and I think that's cool from an interviewer type standpoint and a fellow podcaster, because this thing in life, whether it be months, whether it be years, life is a journey, man. And I mean, we get to see a lot of people's journeys into professional wrestling, so it's always great to catch up. And that's why I like have people like you, like we're doing today. This is like another round two, because people in life, they're going to start here, then they go there. And I think that's a great what you're doing with the Catching Up series.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It was actually one of those things where I didn't have a ton of bookings towards the end of December because of Christmas and then New Year's. I think it's a slow work season for everybody around that time. And so I was kind of thinking, like, how can I get talent on my show without having to travel? If I don't have a booking, what am I going to do? I was like talking to actually my parents and my dad. I was like, maybe, because my dad's always been like the business guy for me. And I was like, maybe I can start doing more vlogs around, the house and do a couple, more fun segments and Q&As. And he's like, yeah, it's great to do that kind of stuff, but you also have to keep talent coming on. So he actually pitched me the idea to do that. And since then, it's just been, it's only been December I started it. And I think I posted my first one in January. I filmed in December. And people have really been enjoying it. And it's awesome for me because I don't need to really have met these people. I just have to reach out to them through social media. They just have to tell me yes. And next thing you know, we're hopping on Skype. So it's very easy. It makes everyone accessible, which is awesome. I can just film from my bedroom or my living room. So it's been one of those really awesome ideas that I love hosting. So.
Hey man, you're preaching to the choir there with just recording from your bedroom and stuff. Like we all have when we do these shows. We're in like our office and stuff. I mean, that's living the dream right there. I'm like, I'll be honest with you, and I truly mean that because it's just like you have like this, your space, your spot where you can record this, and I think that's also very cool on your end because we get to see, it's a very nice little setting, and you just interviewing both of them. Whether it be like that's the thing with you, like whether you're at a show or whether you're in your bedroom, like you stated there, like you just make it fun, and I think that really captures and it shows in each and every video that you do, Alicia.
Yeah, thank you. And that's kind of the coolest part. I can be out at a show or I can just, as I said, be filming from my room. I sent out a tweet not too long ago, like, guys, every single video you've watched, that's a vlog. That's not me like traveling. I am business on the top and pajama pants on the bottom. It's so awesome being able to do this kind of stuff from your house in the comfort of your own home and still make sure that the quality and quantity is there for everybody. So yeah, that's been a lot of fun for me to try to figure out and make sure the product continues to be really good and all that stuff. It's awesome working from home and being your own boss.
Of course, and I mean the DIY do-it-yourself. I'm not talking about Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa in this instance, but of course, and I mean the pajama pants on the bottom. I like that. That was a great tweet, by the way. But no, I mean it really shows, and I mean I look at it like this as well. Like whether you're on social media doing your YouTube stuff, or I gotta bring this up, man, because damn, the 6-second blink challenge. Like I know we're gonna get into this because man, you were livid by 1 second that close. But every time I see that, I either crack up because it's like you're this close, or you're just like, all right, man, you really get into some serious blink challenging with them 6 seconds.
I hate that game. I hate it so much. I feel like it's just taunting me. I'll either get like 300 milliseconds over, or I was literally, I think, like 1 millisecond away yesterday. It's just, I hate it. And I actually told myself about a month ago, okay, I'm going to take 2 weeks off. I'm going to try, and then I'm going to get back to it. And I did. I stepped away for 2 weeks. And yesterday was the first time I tried in those 2 weeks, and I came that millisecond away. So I don't know if I'm ever going to do it, but, as long as that app stays around, I'm definitely going to keep trying.
I think you should, and I'll be honest with you. I think it's cool. Like, there's so many, like, funny viral stuff, like the 6-second blink challenge. Isn't it amazing just to see what goes viral in the social media days? I mean, whether it be compliments, which is great. I'll go back to that for a second, but look at, like, united, not divided is my saying. It's like, we got a lot of people hard working in this world. Whether we're having fun with 6 seconds blink challenge, which, again, I love your livedness and I love your passion, which cracks me up every time. But if you tie in and correlate that, I mean, it's just... I look at the social media game. I know people talk about social media's pros and cons, but I mean, like, we're all united, not divided. We're all in this thing together. Not to quote High School Musical, but we're all in this thing together. Like, we look at, like, I'm just saying because, like, everybody's trying to work hard, interview and podcast and what have you. And I'm going to say this right now. There's a lot of bullshit. Excuse my language, but pun intended, there's a lot of bullshit and unnecessary drama. I mean, we're all in it for the same game, for success and just, passion, so.
No, definitely. And there's a lot of crap you deal with, so when you have those little distractions, whether it's like binge watching a Netflix series or a 6-second challenge or video games, you need those little things to sprinkle in because you deal with a lot of crap. So yeah, I couldn't agree more on that front.
Hey man, when I'm sitting at home and I got nostalgia, SmackDown, Here Comes the Pain, or what have you, which everybody will argue that it's one of the best video games ever. And do not tell AJ Kirsch that, because he will tell you no mercy all day, every day. And I love you, AJ Kirsch, but he's very big into the No Mercy series. But it's like, whether it's from video games or what have you, I mean, there's a lot of things that help people get centered and just, you know what I'm saying? If you're not hurting anybody, if you're really centered, you really have a goal, go for it. I think that's what we see from yourself, Alicia, too. That's what we see from podcasts, and that's what we see in general. I think whatever anybody wants to do, whatever endeavor, career, just go out and do it. DIY like you do it yourself. Just find that avenue and just go for it. I can't be any more, appreciative of that. Like me, I've been doing this for 4 years. You've been doing your thing with Ambi. It's a blessing. I think what we do as a job, I think that's the best word to describe it. It's a blessing.
No, it's definitely the case. It's one of those things where you have to really take a step back and appreciate how cool it is that you get to do what we're doing, and the fact that if you're able to get some success with it too, I mean, all the better to you. It's a definitely, you're talking about DIY, it's definitely a crazy ride when you do it yourself. There is a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of sleepless hours, but at the same time, it's well worth it. So if you do have one of those types of passions, just stick to it, because in the end, it can definitely work out to be a pretty amazing thing. So yeah, I just kind of went on a rant there, but
It's cool.
yeah, it's amazing when it works out.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. Don't even apologize for ranting, because people tell me I'm a rambling man. Well, I was born a rambling man, ranting. It's the passion that shows, and it really shows through when we do these shows or what have you. And here's the thing: I love talking to you. I truly do. And what's worth it is you're worth it. What's worth it is doing these interviews, because people. I think what's great about podcasts as well. Last thing I'll add to it: we give the people platform to tell their stories. So if you've never heard of X, Y, and Z wrestler, what have you, you're gonna learn from it through the interview. And I think we generate and show that with each and every show, whether it be questions about how they got into the industry or what they're doing, whatever facet of life. There's a word for you. Whatever facet of life that they are. I think it's special. But yeah, no, I think that's what you do, and you do it to top notch. I mean, that's why you're the interview queen. Which again, royalty, man. I love that. I've always loved that moniker. I'll tell you this all day, every day. The interview queen, and you live up to it.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you wanting to have me on. I definitely see the hustle as well, which is cool when you see it in other people. So yeah, thank you for wanting to have me on and for taking the time. It's been
Hey,
fun.
it's not a problem. It has. And like I said, you're welcome back on anytime. The Overture's here. People, follow Alicia too. If you're not, what are you doing? She's a great follow on all platforms of social media. This is where I step back, Miss Alicia too. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, the whole nine. The floor is yours. Please go right ahead and please promote some upcoming events.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you guys just check out Alicia too on Google, you will find my Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and most importantly, my YouTube channel and website where all the content is posted. I have tons of interviews, tons of vlogs. There's just a lot of really cool, exciting stuff coming up. Also, be sure to check out MLW, which airs every Saturday night. You can watch it on beIN Sports at 9 p.m. Or if you don't happen to have the channel, you can check it out on YouTube for free every Saturday at 6:05 p.m. And if you miss it at 6:05 p.m., it stays on our channel. So all you have to do is hit up the channel and it'll be there. As far as upcoming shows, I'm going to be at big events March 7th. We have MLW in Mexico on the 13th. I'm going to be in Indiana for Heroes and Legends on March 21st. So those are a couple of my March dates. If you happen to be at any of those shows, please come say hello. I love meeting you guys. And just thank you so much for listening to this and for having me on.
Man, MLW in Mexico, MLW on the YouTube channel. It's a great subscription. I subscribe. I check it out each and every week. An amazing product. Check out. People, just enjoy your local pro wrestling. Go where Alicia Atout is. Say hello. Say hello to the interview queen. And just like I said, be respectful. That's another thing I'm going to say. Be respectful, because I remember listening to a lot of interviews where you were talking about creepy DMs. And people, we get it. It's ridiculous. Just be kind to one another. Be respectful. Be professional, because we got a true pro right here, and Alicia Atout. So Alicia Atout, do you have any final words to the fans before we close this out?
Honestly, just thank you so much. If you've ever shown the smallest amount of support, it really doesn't go unnoticed. And I can't thank you guys enough for caring. So my main thing to say is just thank you for supporting what I do. It means a lot.
From the music aspect, I know I'm going to outdate this with my age here, but I'm going to quote the great Earth, Wind, and Fire. You're a shining star, no matter who you are, shining bright to see what you could truly be. Alicia, too, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.